Plaintiff Zachary Hust met the defendant at a gentleman's club where he works as a champagne host and she works as a dancer. Zachary claims they started dating and he soon realized the defendant was extremely jealous and had anger issues, and he's suing her today for breach of contract. Defendant Raquel Nieves says soon after she started dating Zachary, she realized he was an alcoholic and a cheater. Raquel claims Zachary once got drunk while babysitting her son, and he often allowed waitresses from the gentleman's club to spend the night at his house. Raquel denies owing Zachary for anything.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Raquel and I met in 2015. We dated from 2015 to 2016. We met at a gentleman's club where we're both employed. I'm the champagne host, bouncer there, and she's a dancer. We dated for a long time without incident, and it became clear after a while that she just had too many issues with jealousy and anger that I just couldn't handle it.
Like what?
For example, I had a friend of mine visiting from out of town, and her and I were in an argument, so I was trying to remove myself from the situation. He went to pick me up outside. I walked out, got in the car, and she jumped in the window of the passenger car while it was pulling away to attack me and try to keep me from leaving.
What does that have to do with jealousy?
Well, that's the anger I was talking about. I can give you an
anger.
example of jealousy if you'd like that
I want to hear
too.
this jealousy.
Okay.
She running around on stage. Let me hear about this jealousy.
And I'm not jealous of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
so I'm a pretty understanding guy.
Make some sense of this. Go ahead.
Right. So for her birthday, she always wanted to go to Colorado. Okay. So being the gentleman that I am, I drove her from Columbus, Ohio.
That's why he works at a gentleman's club. He's a gentleman.
That makes sense now.
I drove her from Columbus, Ohio, 2,000 miles to Denver, Colorado. Wow. Drove the whole time myself. Took her to her favorite concert there, and we went camping with a friend of mine. And she
Did
was.
You go to the outside venue there?
Yeah.
Red Rocks?
Yeah.
Go
That's
ahead.
Right. There you go. And so.
Denver's one of my favorite cities. I used to go.
That's a great city, right?
Lived there for a few months. Go ahead.
And so we went camping with a friend of mine, and she was clearly perturbed that I wasn't spending all the time with her, and I was spending time with this friend of mine. And so she stormed off and went to the car at the campsite. And I woke to her throwing rocks at my head to get my attention.
That's the anger part.
Next morning, that's the anger, yeah, and jealousy. Jealous that she's not getting the attention that she wanted on her birthday. But I thought the drive to Colorado and the concert would be sufficient.
Okay, how did that work out ultimately, that trip?
It was a pretty rough ride home.
Ma'am, you want to give me some background on your relationship?
Like you said, we met at a gentleman's club. We started dating, and then I realized he was an alcoholic and a cheater. For instance, I let him babysit my 3-year-old son so I could go to the mall. 3 hours later, I come home, he's drunk.
That's not true.
What time of day or night?
It was roughly 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So he's a daytime drinker. He's an alcoholic. He's obviously in denial. He didn't see an issue being wasted watching my son.
How often does he
true.
drink? If you're saying he's an alcoholic, I'm going to make you back that up a
He has
little.
at least a couple drinks every single day. Every single day.
Couple of drinks every single day of what?
Usually
Beer,
whiskey.
whiskey, hard
his
alcohol.
drink of choice.
I don't know if that's alcoholic or not. From what I'm hearing, most women like to have a glass of wine at the end of the night to relax, to wind down. Glass of wine, 2 glasses every night.
For other instances, along with the alcohol, he would let dumpy waitresses stay at our house. Or, I'm sorry, his house at the time.
Can you explain that?
Did she believe it the first time?
I never cheated on her one time.
Right, you just gave the dumpy waitress a, right, she just
This
stayed
is the anger I'm talking about.
Well, I'm
right
angry
here.
too about this. What do you have waitresses stay at the house?
This is a coworker of ours from the club.
That's what they
That
call
was
them
too
now.
drunk to drive,
she
Your
worked
Honor.
That's
with
what
us.
they call them now, co-workers.
She.
Well, apparently the dumpy waitress was too drunk to drive, so him being the bouncer gentleman that he is, let her stay at his house. They're not talking about politics, Your Honor. I'm not stupid.
Reading the Bible? Playing cards?
No, she stayed in a separate room, and that's a fact.
How do we know it's a fact? Do you
mean,
know it's a fact, ma'am? Do you know it's a fact?
No, I do not.
I don't either.
Right.
Why wouldn't you just give her a ride home if she was too drunk to drive?
It's a very good question, but I let her stay at the house. I would let any coworker.
Well, answer the good question. It's a good question, you answer it.
Right, because my home is closer than where her home is.
How far beyond yours is hers?
Probably 15 or 20 minutes.
So you want to drive an extra 15 minutes instead you wanted a drunk
each way.
woman. And you would rather have a drunk woman in your house than to drive an extra 15 minutes, putting yourself at risk. It's even worse than you thought it was.
It's not true. I mean,
let's go, man. You all still together, or did you break up? And if so,
We broke
why?
up.
Why'd you break up?
Because he's a cheater and an alcoholic.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the breach of contract. What are you suing her for? $2,400.
correct. So I was invited to go to the state Democratic Party dinner in Ohio with President Obama as a special guest. And I had an opportunity.
You're a Democrat.
Absolutely, Your Honor. And so I had an opportunity to purchase tickets to the state dinner, to sit in close proximity, possibly meet the president. So I texted her and asked her if she wanted to come with me. And she said that she did. And I said, well, because the tickets are very expensive. They were $2,400 a ticket.
$2,400 each. So you got to pay $2,400 to go into a
fundraiser.
Democrat's party.
Right, it's a fundraiser. In a
How much do
swing state.
Republicans charge?
I don't go to theirs. I don't know. All right. Never cheated on her one time.
Right, you
these
just gave the
waitresses
dumpy
at the
waitress
house?
right, she just
This is
stayed
the
at
anger I'm talking about.
Well, I'm
Your Honor,
angry
right here.
too about this. What do you have waitresses stay at the house?
This is a coworker of ours from the club.
That's what they
that
call
was
them
too
now.
drunk to drive
She
you.
worked
That's
with
what
us.
they call them now.
Defendant Raquel Nieves dated the plaintiff, but she claims she broke up with him because he's an alcoholic who cheated on her.
All right, so you purchased the ticket.
Purchased the tickets. She told me that she was going to come to the event with me. Now, you have to RSVP to these events, and you can't change the person because it's a presidential event. They're very specific about who goes. And so we had a falling out 2 days before the event, in which case she informed me she was no longer going to come to the event. And now I'm stood up and eating the cost of this ticket. And then later on, when she calmed down, she said she would pay me back for the ticket and still has never paid me.
All right. You went to the event?
No, I did not go to the event.
Why not?
That's a lie.
What's a lie?
I offered to pay for the ticket in advance.
You never.
You told you
Man,
I offered to pay for
what's your defense? You say you offered to pay for it?
I offered to pay for my ticket. He said no. Okay. I don't want to go with him. We're broken up.
That's-
Why would you still want to go with me to the event? So I made other plans.
Yeah, why didn't you take that drunk woman?
I couldn't change the name on the RSVP because it was already her name.
I know, sir.
Right.
But the question becomes, did she ever offer to purchase it herself?
Prior to the event,
Yes. At what point did she offer to give you money for it?
no. Afterwards, when she said she wasn't coming, I was like, well, you need to at least pay me the $2,400. And she said that she would.
Ma'am, did you ever tell him afterwards that you would?
No.
I think you did. Why did you look over there? Why did you give him a nasty look before looking back? You're still angry with him?
Yes.
About what?
Between the alcohol and the cheating, a little bit of both.
I mean, but what particular incident?
Me coming home drunk, him watching my 3-year-old son. That's something to get angry about. And not only waitresses, also dancers staying at the house.
Not true. That's a lie.
Giving
Never
him
happened.
rides too?
Never. It's not true.
Right, because
I've heard a
Chase has
lot of
never
these
stayed at your
bouncers.
house.
Oh, that's your friend. She stayed there with us.
I've heard
Where
a lot
was
of
I?
these bouncers at
You
these
were
strip
there.
clubs are coming on to these dancers anyway.
What's that? Sorry.
I've heard a lot of these bouncers at the strip clubs, they work there first of all so they can get an inside track on the strippers.
I've seen that happen. Your
Thank you.
Yeah.
So ladies, all your men that out here talking about they doing security at a strip club, you know what it is. You agreed to pay him, ma'am. I believe you agreed to pay him. You said at first you were going to pay for your ticket. You offered to do so. And then you didn't go. And then he said, after you stood him up, if you will, or determined you all should not go together, which is reasonable, then you later, he says, agreed to pay. I asked you if you agreed to pay. Afterwards, you hesitated. You looked at him angrily and looked back at me and said, no. That gave me the impression that he's telling the truth, and you're still angry, and you want him to suffer as much as he can. $2,400 less today, though. You'll get your $2,400. Now, if you can find other ways for him to suffer, be my guest, all right? I tell you what you do, turn it to a Republican. That'll mess him up. You'll get upset.
Roger that, Your Honor. Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $2,400.
I mean, I feel great. I feel, $2,400 in my pocket. So
I think he's just really petty.
it's nice to see you again.